Let's get an update on the COVID relief bill negotiations. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell joins us this evening. Good evening, sir.
Hey, Mike.
Are you confident there will be a deal on a COVID-19 relief bill by the end of this week, sir?
Well, I sure hope so. The discussions continue. I think both sides want to get to an outcome. That's the good news. The bad news is we are a long way apart, and we'll see. But look, I think the American people need an outcome. It can only be done on a bipartisan basis. We need to work our way through our differences and come up with a solution that helps, once again, focus what I think we need to apply the focus to: kids in school, health care, jobs, and liability protection so that doctors, hospitals, nurses, universities, K through 12, our whole society is not afflicted with an epidemic of lawsuits on the heels of the pandemic that we're all wrestling with.
Delaware Senator Chris Coons, in an interview with Brett, was critical of you for not being engaged in this past weekend's negotiations, and he predicts negotiations will lead to another $2.3 trillion aid package similar to the CARES Act. Take a listen.
It shouldn't have come to this, where you've got literally 30 million Americans who are relying on the additional unemployment insurance assistance from the federal government to get them through this very difficult time. We should have been able to come to a resolution at this point.
How do you respond?
Well, I am involved. I've been involved continuously. And Secretary of the Treasury and the President's Chief of Staff are briefing my colleagues on a daily basis. We're totally involved in this. The question is, can we work together to get an outcome? There are two things that are in trouble and need to be dealt with: unemployment and the PPP, the Popular Small Business Loan Program, both expiring.
Right.
We need to do a lot more than that, but that certainly creates a sense of urgency, and I haven't sensed the sense of urgency on the other side that I'd like to see, Mike, to actually get an outcome here.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is taking aim at your Republican conference being divided.
They don't have the votes. They have the votes for practically nothing. They haven't passed anything. They refuse to spend more money, by and large, in the Republican caucus. And again, that's a formula for further disaster.
Do your members recognize that by being kind of all over the place on COVID relief, they're giving much of the leverage to Leader Schumer and Speaker Pelosi?
Well, in the end, it's going to have to be done on a bipartisan basis. It is correct, as I've said repeatedly. I've got 15 or 20 of my members who believe that we've already added quite enough to the national debt. We have a debt now the size of our economy for the first time since World War II. So, yeah, there are differences of opinion, but that wouldn't get an outcome. The only thing that gets an outcome is the Speaker and the President of the United States reaching an agreement. And once they do that, I believe that the majority of my members will support it, but not every single one of them. And I've been clear about that from the beginning.
There's been some discussion about bringing rapid testing to Capitol Hill after Texas Congressman Louis Gohmert tested positive last week. House GOP leader Kevin McCarthy called for rapid testing for lawmakers, staff, and reporters. Speaker Pelosi deferring to the Capitol physician. Where are you on this testing issue, sir?
Well, believe it or not, I agree with the Speaker. I think we have to continue to consult with the Capitol physician about what should be best practice for us. I must say, on the Senate side, we've been wearing a mask and practicing social distancing and been in session almost continuously since May the 1st, and we're doing fine. So I think we are demonstrating ourselves that you can learn to live with the coronavirus until we get the vaccine. We're going to have to learn to live with it. That means wearing masks, doing social distancing, and working smartly and safely until we finally get a vaccine, after which we can put this awful experience in the rearview mirror.
Finally, sir, sport's a huge part of our culture. You've got the Derby coming up in a month. You got proud programs at the University of Kentucky in Louisville. Your thoughts on sports here in the COVID era?
Well, I'm still hoping, like a lot of other sports fans, that we can figure a way to safely play during this pandemic. I think it's important for the American public to get back to normal as much as possible. And with many of these athletic events, apparently it's going to be with limited or no audience, but we'll all be watching on TV, and I hope we can have as much normal return to sports safely as possible all across America.
Is it better to have a derby with no fans and at least run the race than having no derby at all?
Yeah, it's better to have a derby, even if there aren't any fans in the stand. We were sorry to have to cancel it back in May, but I think it's going to go off on Labor Day weekend.
All right, we look forward to that. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, thanks so much for your time, sir.
Thank you.